The Mongol Empire covered 24 million square kilometers at its peak. That is more land than any empire before or since. They had a rule, a religious rule, a sacred rule from Tengri, the sky god, and Aj, the earth spirit. You do not spill the blood of royalty or nobles on the ground, not because they were squeamish. The Mongols were not squeamish. They once counted enemy dead by filling 9 sacks with severed ears. The rule was theological. Spilling noble blood defiled the earth, offended heaven, disturbed the cosmic order. This created a logistical challenge, because they had a great many nobles and royals to execute, so they improvised. Temujin, later known as Genghis Khan, was born in 1162 on the Mongolian steppe, allegedly clutching a blood clot in his fist. Medieval chroniclers considered this an omen. They were correct. By the time he died in 1227, he had personally overseen the conquest of more territory than the Roman Empire managed in 5 centuries. He killed roughly 40 million people, about 10% of the world's population at the time. He also had a very specific set of religious rules about how to do it properly. The Mongols worshipped Tengri, the eternal blue sky, and Aj, the spirit of the earth beneath their feet. Shedding the blood of a noble or royal was an insult to both. It wasn't mercy. It was theology. And theology, as we are about to see, is no obstacle whatsoever to a creative enough mind. In 1218, Genghis Khan sent a trade caravan of 450 men to the Khwarezmian Empire, modern-day Iran and Central Asia, to open diplomatic and commercial relations. This was a goodwill gesture, an olive branch, a friendly hello from the most powerful man on earth. Inalchuq, the governor of the city of Otrar and an uncle of the Sultan, looked at the caravan and saw something different. He saw 450 men's worth of silk, gold, furs, and silver. Inalchuq accused them of being spies, had all 450 executed, sold their goods in Bukhara. One man escaped, reached Genghis Khan, told him what happened. Genghis Khan sent a diplomatic delegation to the Sultan demanding Inalchuq's punishment. The Khwarezmian Empire, 200 years old, stretching across modern Iran, Afghanistan, and Central Asia, was erased from the map in 2 years. 0.25% of its population was killed. Cities that had stood for centuries were reduced to rubble so complete that some were never rebuilt. And Inalchuq, the man who started it all by stealing a trade caravan, was captured alive, specifically alive. The Mongols wanted him conscious for what came next. Inalchuq was executed by having molten silver poured into his eyes and ears. He was a member of the royal family, noble blood, theologically protected. But the Mongols reasoned, if the silver goes in, no blood comes out, problem solved, theologically speaking. In 1223, at the Battle of the Kalka River, Mongol generals Subutai and Jebe, 2 of the greatest military commanders in history, defeated a combined force of Russian princes and Cuman warriors. The Russian princes had actually executed Mongol envoys earlier in the campaign, which, as we have established, was never a good idea. Now several of those princes were prisoners. They were royalty, noble blood. Theologically protected from direct execution, the Mongols were hungry from the battle. These 2 facts turned out to be related. The Russian princes, including Mstislav of Kiev, were laid on the ground. Large wooden boards were placed on top of them. The Mongol commanders then sat on the boards and held their victory feast. They ate, they drank, they celebrated. Below them, the princes were slowly crushed and suffocated. Contemporary accounts say they cried out in pain throughout the meal. No blood was shed. The earth was not defiled. The sky god was presumably satisfied. The Mongols considered this an honorable death. For the princes, it took considerably longer than a sword would have. The Mongol commanders apparently finished their meal before the screaming stopped. We will let you sit with that image. After Ogd Khan, Genghis Khan's son and successor, died in 1241, his widow Torajin Khatun took power as regent. She elevated her closest confidant, a woman named Fatima, a former slave, to a position of real influence in the Mongol court. Torajin's sons were not pleased. A slave woman should not outrank princes. When Toragin's son Gayuk eventually took power from his mother, he turned his attention to Fatima. Gayuk accused Fatima of witchcraft, specifically of having bewitched his mother. This was a serious charge in Mongol shamanic belief. What followed was days of interrogation, beatings, burnings. Fatima refused to confess. Eventually, Gayuk issued her sentence. Fatima's upper and lower orifices were sewn shut. To ensure no blood could leave her body and touch the earth, she was then wrapped entirely in felt and thrown into the river. The felt sealed her. No blood touched the ground. No blood touched the water. Tengri was not offended. Whether Tengri approved of everything else is not recorded. This method, sewing the orifices shut, wrapping in felt, drowning, appears multiple times in Mongol historical records. They had clearly thought it through. This is arguably more unsettling than if they hadn't. Baghdad in 1258 was the intellectual capital of the world. The House of Wisdom, Beit al-Hikmah, held centuries of accumulated human knowledge, mathematics, astronomy, medicine, philosophy, poetry. The Greeks, Persians, Indians, all translated, preserved, expanded upon. It had been the seat of the Abbasid Caliphate for 500 years. A city of 1 million people, its ruler was Caliph Al-Musta'sim, the 37th Abbasid Caliph. And by most historical accounts, a man more interested in poetry and leisure than statecraft. Hulagu Khan, Genghis Khan's grandson, sent a summons to Al-Mustasim demanding full submission to the Mongol Empire. Al-Mustasim refused. He believed the Islamic world would rally to defend him. It didn't. The siege lasted 12 days. When Baghdad fell, Hulagu's army sacked it for a week. The caliph was captured and forced to watch as his citizens were murdered and his treasury plundered. Then Hulagu did something unexpected before the execution. According to Marco Polo and multiple Arabic sources, Hulagu Khan led the caliph into his own treasury. He placed a golden tray in front of him and told him to eat it. Al-Mustasim said, "It is not edible." Hulagu replied, "Then why did you keep it and not give it to your soldiers? Why did you not make these iron doors into arrowheads and meet me at the river so I could not cross?" Al-Mustasim said, "Such was God's will." Hulagu said, "What will befall you is also God's will." Al-Mustasim was left in the room with his treasure for several days. Then came the execution. He was royal. Noble blood, sacred, could not be shed. To avoid spilling a royal's blood, a great taboo for the Mongols, the caliph was wrapped in a rolled-up carpet and trampled to death by horses. No blood touched the earth. Tengri was not offended. The Abbasid Caliphate, which had stood for 500 years, ended on the 20th of February, 1258. What happened to the House of Wisdom? The books of the House of Wisdom were thrown into the Tigris. There were so many that the river reportedly ran black with ink for days. Gone, translations of Aristotle. The first algebra textbooks. Centuries of astronomical observations. Medical texts that would not be replicated for 200 years. Hulagu had to move his camp upwind of the city because of the smell. Not every bloodless Mongol execution was a workaround. Some were acts of genuine respect. Jamukha was Genghis Khan's Anda, his blood brother. In Mongol culture, this was the deepest bond a man could make. They had exchanged gifts as children, made oaths, called each other by the same name. Over decades of war and politics, Jamukha became a rival. He crossed Genghis Khan repeatedly. He was eventually captured. Genghis Khan offered Jamukha reconciliation to return as a blood brother and companion. Jamukha refused. He said 2 sons cannot share the same sky. He asked only one thing, that he be given a death without blood. Mongol accounts record Jamukha's own words. "When you have me killed, my Anda, see it is done without shedding my blood, and that my bones are buried high on a cliff." Genghis Khan granted everything Jamukha asked. He was killed without blood, buried with ceremony, on a high cliff where Tengri could see him, in a strange way, given everything we have just discussed. This was the most human moment in Mongol history. 2 men who had loved each other and destroyed each other, arriving at the end of their story with something close to grace. The Mongol Empire followed its rules about blood. It did not follow rules about fire, or water, or disease, or the 9 sacks of ears they collected after the Battle of Legnica. At their peak in the 1260s, the Mongols controlled more of the earth than any political entity before or since. By 1368, 100 years later, the Yuan dynasty in China had collapsed. The Golden Horde was fracturing. The Ilkhanate was gone. The Mongols had a rule that royal blood should not touch the earth. What they did not have was a rule about what happens when you throw the Library of Baghdad into the Tigris River, or what happens when you kill 40 million people, or what happens when an empire built entirely on military momentum runs out of people willing to fight for it. The sky is still there. The steppe is still there. The horses are still there. The empire is not. Tengri, apparently, had his own opinions about the whole thing. We will let history be the judge. That's episode 3 of Grim Tales. The Mongols gave the world its first international postal system, religious tolerance across conquered territories, and the Pax Mongolica, a century of trade and travel across Eurasia. They also gave it molten silver in the eyes, victory dinners on top of screaming princes, and the end of the Islamic Golden Age in 12 days. History contains multitudes. Next week, the Ottoman Empire's approach to succession, which involved a custom called fratricide and a room called the Kafis. Every new sultan killed all his brothers on the first day of his reign. The ones who survived went somewhere worse. Susper. Leave a comment with where you want Grim Tales to go next. And if you're still here, you know what you are.